We are live. Good afternoon, folks. This is Jim Hodson with Lanny Parcell here in Justin, Texas at Cowtown Aerocrafters, or Cowtown Aerocrafters. We're here to talk about the YF-16, which is right behind Lanny. It came up here, how long ago now, Lanny?
2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay, so it looks like we got pretty lucky this week and having brought it up here a couple of weeks ago compared to what took place the other night around here.
Yeah.
So we were real lucky in that regard. So at any rate, we've got the fuselage here and we've got some wing panels that we've seen here. So you want to talk a little bit about what you guys are up to?
Okay. So, well, as the viewers may know, that this airplane was basically grit blasted to get the RF coatings off of it. When it was a pole model, it had a rubberized gray coating on it so that it would show up right on radar, and that all had to come off. So the fuselage itself, everything that wasn't composite skinned, was grit blasted, and it's a little rough for our final finishes for the look that we're trying to go. This airplane's going to have the original red, white, and blue wet look kind of a finish on it. So step one is to start sanding all the aluminum and re-prep it and corrosion proof it.
Now, they did a lot of work down at the museum, but so what are you doing in addition to what they did?
Well, the guys at the museum did a lot of great work kind of reconfiguring it, because the airplane, let me back up a little bit, the configuration of the airplane was kind of mocked up to simulate a production airplane. And there's quite a bit of differences between the YFs and the production airplane.
Yes.
And so they added stuff to it to make it more closely represent a production airplane.
Okay.
And so the guys at the museum, all the volunteers there, they took all of that mocked up structure off, all of those antennas, all the bumps and bulges that are on a production airplane. They took all that stuff off and patched up the holes or the screw holes or the cutouts that were in it, and kind of got it back to pretty much the original configuration of the YF. Now we're coming back on top of that and basically making it finish ready.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so paint ready. So there's some more fine tuning on some fillers and some patches and some proud screws and some blind fastener stems that are proud. Just cleaning up that kind of stuff and getting it ready for its first coat of primer.
Explain proud to folks.
Well, proud means it's sticking out above the surface.
Okay.
So in aviation terms, the outside of the airplane is the OML, the outside mold line. So it's supposed to be, originally it was something like 7 thousandths was, anything higher than 7 thousandths was unacceptable.
Oh, really?
Okay. It's that close. So we're getting it down to where it'll be smooth, and it'll end up having a finish like a car on it.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah.
That's the intent.
It just dawned on me too. This airplane has probably not been in a hangar in almost 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It hasn't been indoors in a long, long time. So I see we've got somebody duck diving over here.
Yeah.
We want to go over and explain what Jerry's doing.
Yeah, this is Jerry Asher that's living in the inlet right now.
Hi, Mom. We're number one.
This is his
he's
better
spelunking.
side. Yeah, he's spelunking. Okay.
No, so there's still a lot of buildup of paints and finishes and things like that inside the inlet.
Okay.
And so we're going to try to get, it's not as important as the outside of the airplane, but we're going to try to get it as smoothed out and pretty as we can.
Let me go over here so they can get a look inside.
Let's get here and get a look at what I'm actually peeling off, because I found a putty knife, especially a thinner one that's flexible, really can get a lot of this stuff off easier than all the noise and wasting sandpaper.
So the finish that's in here, is that the same finish that was on the exterior? Or is this a little bit different?
No, it's a different finish. It doesn't have the rubberized.
You can see the spray and stuff, I've scraped a lot of it off, but that only went about this far. And actually there was an inlet plate that they had riveted in here too, blocking off the remainder of the inlet. But basically we're taking it back about 30 inches from the lip, getting it clean, and then beyond that we won't get too concerned other than filling and sand and getting everything faired with all the patches that went through for the lantern hardware and everything else.
Yeah, you can see where they cut into the inlet to simulate production airplanes had a big pod mounted on the side of the inlet.
Come over here.
So this
you want to point that out?
Yeah, so the lantern pod and the sharpshooter pods mounted right down here on production airplanes.
Okay.
But this airplane never had provisions for it, so they
Right.
simulated it by cutting holes inside the inlet and putting backup structure to hold those big pods
All right.
on there.
Yeah, the only thing this had was the gun.
Yeah.
Really.
And this location on the side of the inlet where you can see all the fillers and the work we've been doing here, that was a popular location on more advanced F-16s for an antenna bank. There was
Okay.
an antenna that looked like a little winglet
Okay.
that had antennas inside of it and a nav light on the end, so you can see there's been holes cut in it.
Right,
They did
right.
different configurations of that. One of the things that I thought was interesting that I'd never noticed before until we got here and started looking at it is the gun on the YF
Right.
is about 4 feet further forward than it is on a production airplane.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, because the muzzle, this little
Right.
cutout for the casting to fit in there, that's the muzzle.
And this is the casting right here, right?
Yeah, that's the casting that fits in that cutout up there. And so on a production airplane, that casting is behind fuselage station 189, which is
Oh,
right
it is. Okay.
It sits about right here on a production
I never even noticed that. Okay. So let me take a step back here for a second. You've got a lot of time experience with F-16s, don't you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact.
Why don't you let everybody know a little bit about what your background is?
I hired on to General Dynamics in October of 1978,
Okay.
which was a year after I graduated out of high school.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, so I was 19 years old when I started, and I started on the assembly line building all of these parts for the Ford fuselage.
Oh, all right.
It was all bench works where I started out, and I was an hourly worker on the assembly line until 1984 when I got a job in the metal mock-up doing new prototype and new production
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
And so I moved up to the mock-up as a salary guy, as a manufacturing engineer. I did that until probably 4 years, maybe 5 years, and then I switched over from manufacturing engineering to design engineering,
Okay.
still in the mock-up doing wiring harness installation and tubing and all the routed stuff.
Okay.
The purpose of the mock-up was to generate what we referred to as non-dimensional engineering. So
Okay.
we built all the structure for a new version of the F-16. We put all the boxes in, and then we kind of went in there and we basically hand-wired the whole airplane.
Really? Wow.
And once we got it all fit, and the doors were closed and everything worked, we take it all back apart, pull the harnesses out, lay them out on a big piece of plywood, and put nails around them basically, and make a pegboard that was the shape of the harness. And we turned that into a tool to make production harnesses.
Wow. Interesting. Folks, we're doing something a little bit different with the sound today. So if the sound is good, just give me a thumbs up so we'll know that seems to be working, so we don't have to start all over. One of the things I just noticed, just sitting here looking at it, it looks bigger inside the building than it did sitting out on the ramp.
Yeah.
And I'm going to catch everybody up on a few things. You'll notice the canopy is completely gone. We took that off a while ago. And some folks over in Arlington are building a new transparency for the airplane. So when that happened, and we knew we weren't going to have to try to clean up the old canopy, that then became the issue of, well, now we need to restore the cockpit too.
Right.
So the plans are being made to restore the cockpit as well. We've got a seat, we've got a bunch of instrumentations, and they're going to be making plans for it. Thanks, George. Appreciate the thumbs up. Work has not stopped at the museum. In fact, the YF-16 crew is there working on the nose.
Yeah.
They were down there cleaning the nose up some more.
Yeah, I think last time I talked to Kevin and David about things going on at the museum, the vertical fin is still at the museum.
Right.
And the forward equipment bay and nose radome is still at the museum. And of course the canopy frame is at PPG.
Right.
Getting the new transparency for it. That was one of the other things that we've been kind of researching on this, because I didn't realize that the YF-16 didn't have a canopy actuator.
Oh, it did not?
Canopy. No,
Okay.
It had wait for that airplane to go by. It's a pretty day here at Prop Wash, so everybody's getting their toys out after the weather came through.
Yeah.
But anyway, though, it didn't have a canopy actuator. It actually had like a McPherson strut that was a mass neutralizer. So sort of like a T-38 or an F5.
Okay.
You basically unlock the canopy and you pushed on it with your hand, and it didn't weigh anything, and it just go open by itself.
Okay.
So
okay.
We've been kind of poking around with mirrors and flashlights without taking any panels off yet.
Okay.
And the hinges and the bell cranks and everything to make that work is still in the airplane. The only thing that's not there is the McPherson strut.
Okay.
The gas strut.
So I don't know that there's been any decision as to what they're planning to do with that or not.
I know what I'm going to do.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to make it work.
Okay. Like to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I tell you what, why don't we walk around? It's been a while since people have seen it. We got a bunch of people watching today, which is nice. We haven't done one of these in a while. Get back here. There. We'll do it this way.
So what we have here, this is where the wings attach on this surface right here, all the way back to here. This is where the wings attach. So the bolt holes have tape over them right now.
Right.
But the wings just butt up against this beam. And then this cover plate that's taped on right here is where the actuator is for the flaperon.
Okay.
So that basically the flaperon comes back to about right here. So that's the whole wing, and then this is just a flat side. And
Well,
then up on the top, you can see the attach brackets kind of sticking up for the fairings that go on the side of the vertical fin and the dorsal
right.
that runs
Right.
that runs forward. Now on the early airplanes, including the YF, it was a really skinny little dorsal fin. And if anybody's familiar or looking at modern F-16s, that dorsal fin and that fairing on the side of the vertical fins is probably 18 inches wide.
Okay.
Because they actually made an equipment bay in front
Right.
of the vertical that put
Okay.
avionics up
Okay.
there because they ran out of room in the
They ran
airplane.
out of-
So started putting it on the top. And I'm pretty familiar with that because that was one of my first jobs in the mock-up.
Was it
We
really?
went to the Block 30s, and that's where the Block 30s, the F-16Cs were the first ones with
Okay.
expanded tail root fairing was our official nomenclature.
Ah, all right. Well, this is making everything else you've done out here kind of common now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not too many people can say they've had an F-16 in their garage, let alone the number 2
Yeah.
F-16.
Yeah,
so.
we're all pretty excited about it. It's gonna be a fun project. But we probably got another 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks worth of sanding to do on it. Because right now, I think we're probably logging like 30 hours a week.
Okay.
I would say, between 3 guys and
Okay.
maybe 3.5, 4 days each.
Right.
So we're not working 10-hour days or anything.
Got it.
It's volunteer work, so.
Well, I have to tell you, I was in Washington, D.C. this week for Museum Advocacy Day, and we were there to meet with Congress and senators, and we met with Kay Granger.
Yeah.
So we met the Congresswoman, and she wanted to know how things were going with the airplane, and I told her to come up here for paint and that kind of thing, and she said, well, you let me know how it's coming, because when you unveil it, I'll want to be there. And I said, you don't have to worry about that. We wouldn't have it if it wasn't for you, so you'll be there for sure.
Yeah.
And
That's great.
And she said, we had to really fight hard to get this airplane. And I said, we know that and appreciate it, and this is going to be a real, it's going to be a real credit to everybody who's been involved with this project.
We consider it a jewel.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. So. What else would you like to show us? We're getting down here on time on this, so got anything last minute you want to talk about or show?
I really can't think of much else. I mean, we're kind of scoping out some of the provisions because the ventral fins, I might touch on that. There's a ventral fin that mounts and sticks out right here.
Yeah.
And it had production ventral fins on it, so we've modified them to more represent the YF configuration.
Oh, so those were different.
Yeah, the production ventral fins, well, I think they were about the same length, but it was the same cord all the way.
Okay.
So it stuck out this far all the way back. On the YFs...
Oh, it was angled. Yeah, it was
angled.
That's right, yeah. Yeah. Now, I know Jerry had said something last week, earlier in the week, about straightening out edges on something.
Yeah.
What was that he was working
Well,
on?
it's really just, there's a big casting right along here.
Okay.
That makes the leading edge of the strake. And over the decades, it's been whacked and banged with crew stands and things like that. So it's got little bites taken out of it. So
so that's what he was
all
talking
that stuff out, because this should almost be sharp.
Yeah.
Originally.
Well, it's looking pretty straight.
Yeah, it's nice and straight. It's just got lots of, like I said, lots of damage where things have been run into.
Yeah. So let's see. I have not seen any questions from anybody. If anybody's got some questions you'd like to ask of Lanny or our duck diver over here, Jerry, let me know, and we'll see if we can answer them on here, or we can do them online later on. So how long do you think it'll be before you'll start putting paint on it?
Well, we may do some, we've got it sanded on the side of the fuselage here. We've got it sanded from right here all the way to the inlet. So we only got like 2.5 feet on this side that hasn't been sanded from the straight down.
Okay.
And so we're gonna do some test shots today with just the epoxy primer. Yellow green kind of epoxy primer to see if our sanding technique is going to be suitable, or if we can lighten up a little bit and go a little faster.
So
it's kind of doing this by braille right now. We feel and go, that'll probably work.
So what color is the primer going to be?
It's going to be almost this color right here.
Okay, because I know at one time there was talk about putting a white base coat on it or something like that.
Well, that's what we'll do.
Okay.
That's what we've done on everything else, because like you've seen previously, the wings are white right now, and they're going to end up all red.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, so...
Jim, you want to see the primer color? It's on the gear door standing.
Sure.
Right over
Okay, and George is asking, do you have any kind of an estimate on a completion date? Lanny will usually say Tuesday, but what are we looking at?
Yeah, these are the main gear doors. They're leaning up out of the way so they won't get hurt. But that's the primer that we're using on it.
Okay.
So it gets a aluminum prep coating on it, which is kind of an etching.
So that's not really a zinc chromate.
It's a modern equivalent to a zinc chromate.
Okay.
Yeah. The zinc chromate is actually a porous primer.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. So if you put zinc chromate, like there's been some rattle can zinc chromate put on it to try to keep the fasteners from rusting after they got grip blasted. The moisture eventually will go through zinc chromate, and they'll rust underneath the primer.
So you don't have any kind of a estimate as to how long you think this is going to take?
Well, when we originally planned this out, and we just kind of threw a dart, an educated guess kind of a thing, it's probably going to be before August. I think we can have it. Okay. We have it. It depends on how far we go here at Cowtown Aerocrafters with the cockpit.
Yes.
And some of the other things that could get a little things that haven't been on.
Right.
I got a big concern over the fairings that go between the wing and the fuselage.
Okay.
And so there's going to be some head scratching over that because they're modified, and we have to unmodify them to get them all to fit. Sure. The goal is that we want to do it in such a manner that when we transport it back to the museum site, we don't have to come back and touch up the paint.
Right.
When we go to put the wings on it and the tail on it, this doesn't work and something's showing, and anyway.
So do you think you will be doing any assembly of the airplane here?
I'm hoping so, yeah.
So you're going to try to do a full up assembly?
I'd like to.
And then take it apart again for transport. Okay. So and we said before we don't have any kind of a completion date deadline on this. It's fine with us. We just know that it's going to take a while, and we're going to make sure the job is done right. This airplane is going to be the centerpiece of the museum for a long, long time. In fact, I was reading an article the other day that there are people who are now referring to this as a potentially a 100-year fighter, that it will be around for 100 years.
Wow. That surprised me. They're building brand new ones right now in Greenville, South Carolina.
Well, I know, and we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of the airplane. So, potentially it could. I think it's operated in something like 26 countries.
Yeah.
And it's being, manufactured in 3 or 4 countries?
I think right now there's only Well, there's pieces being manufactured.
Okay.
They're making
Okay.
inlets in Turkey and center fuselages in Korea. And
Okay,
things
that's
like
what-
that.
okay.
But I think right now the only assembly line is in Greenville, South Carolina.
And do you happen to know who they're making the planes for there now?
Oh, they've got several firm contracts and several pending contracts, but I think the ones they're building right now are for Iraq, and then there's some for Bahrain. And
Okay.
I think,
Pakistan?
no, not Pakistan.
Okay.
Romania,
Okay.
Taiwan's. I think Taiwan's pending. I mean, they've got a backlog, I believe, right now of 300 airplanes.
Well, it's just amazing to me when you think about that. This airplane was essentially built on spec. Just a kind of a roll of the dice by General Dynamics. And here we are 50 years later. The airplane is still considered a frontline fighter.
Yeah.
And
God bless Harry Hilliker.
there you go. Okay, good enough. So, well, let's see. Anybody got any other comments? And we'll just kind of wrap it up here today. Okay. So
I have one public service announcement.
Sure.
This is for the retired Lockheed guys, mostly engineering types. Tony Wedgeworth, a longtime worker of mine, passed away a couple of days ago.
okay.
He was he worked with me in the MACA doing systems integration. He was kind of an antenna specialist at the time, but he had a 25, 30-year career at General Dynamics and Lockheed. And
Okay.
there's a celebration of life at the Point this afternoon from 3 to 6. If
Okay.
Everybody knew Tony.
Okay. Well, we'll let everybody know about that, and we'll remind folks that from the museum standpoint, we have Hops and Props on April 29th, and there's still early bird tickets available for that. Other than that, there's something going on at the museum all day long. We've got some student lawyers there today that are fixing a nose on the F-111 and washing airplanes and painting the RF-8 trailer, and there's all kinds of good things happening there right now. So I think for Lanny and Jerry and Tom, wherever Tom is, thank you all for everything you guys are doing. And from Cowtown Aerocrafters here in Justin, Texas, we'll see you later.